After Prohibition, the first tiki drinks were served by a guy named Don the Beachcomber, and that was the Big Bang.
Tiki offers you this dream of escaping to an island paradise.
Tiki is a celebration of a bygone era.
Are you kidding me? These people, they go way back.
It's punk rock for grown-up people. There's nothing quite like it.
The natives are restless tonight. They've come from far and wide for a good time and aren't likely to quit until they've had one. These are the new adherents of what's come to be called Polynesian pop, tiki for short, a thriving subculture of aloha shirts, grass skirts, rum cocktails, and exotic sounds. Once considered a relic of the mid-20th century, tiki's artifacts have been dug from the dustbins of thrift stores and flea markets. Its music, fashion, and mixology combed from the flotsam of a forgotten era. Its Polynesian temples, the few that remain, have been reclaimed from the overgrowth and its totems carved anew. This is the true tale of a remixed subculture, reimagined and reborn in the age of the internet. A once virtual community brought to life in rum guzzling, tchotchke collecting, limbo dancing, Hawaiian shirt wearing technicolor. New converts are welcome. To trace tiki's origins, you have to go all the way back to the voyages of European explorers in the 17th century.
The Western obsession with the South Seas Islands pretty much began as soon as they were discovered. You know, it came from the fact that these sailors had been on the open sea for months on end. All they had to eat was like some sort of hard bread and water, basically. So they arrived at this island, and there was beautiful nature, fresh fruits and free food, and beautiful women.
Explorers' reports conjured images of paradise. Soon, writers like Herman Melville were drawn to the subject, as was artist Paul Gauguin.
Gauguin's Tahitian paintings were spectacular and very well received in the 19th century, as they are today, in part because of this sense of this artist going off into some exotic, faraway place that nobody knew existed. Nobody really knew the practices of these people, and they were untouched by Western culture. We love the idea of an artist going off to some unknown place. People are fascinated by that, and they're fascinated by the transgressions. They're fascinated by breaking these Western mores and middle-class values.
Among the visual symbols of Polynesia was the tiki.
A tiki is a Polynesian idol. He was sort of a half god, half man. He was sort of a prankster and a jokester. After he, passed on, all depictions of the human form became called tiki by the Polynesians.
In time, tiki became a kind of shorthand for all things having to do with the islands of the South Sea.
Where tiki comes from is actually a modern concept. The roots of that concept go all the way back to the 1930s, particularly with a Hawaiian craze, especially a Hawaiian music craze over the radio that swept the United States.
Out in Hawaii there's a pretty hula maiden, and though the county's Nupapulu over her, all day long they say.
But the real catalyst for America's Polynesian obsession would be the repeal of Prohibition and the newfound availability of cheap rum.
The decisive vote of the 36th state against Prohibition is happy news for the United States. The lid is off, with the downfall of Prohibition being celebrated in real old-time hilarity.
People bought rum during Prohibition because it was the only bonded alcohol that they knew wasn't going to kill them. It was, smuggled in from Cuba, and they knew that it was good liquor, so they drank that instead of what they really wanted to drink, which was whiskey or gin. So once Prohibition was repealed, everybody said, give me back my whiskey, give me back my gin, and the rum runners had tons of this stuff that they could no longer unload.
Sensing an opportunity, Ernest Raymond Beaumont Gant opened America's first modern tiki bar in Hollywood, California. Soon, he and the restaurant would go by the same name, Don the Beachcomber. Rum drinks were the house specialty, even though the recipes were more indebted to the Caribbean than Polynesia.
He had traveled quite a bit. He had been exposed to the Cuban daiquiri and the Jamaican planter's punch, both of which are very good examples of the holy trinity of Caribbean mixology, which became tiki mixology, which is rum, lime, and sugar. But what Don did was he turbocharged it, and he embroidered it, and he turned a very simple rum drink, like the Planter's Punch, into a Baroque fantasia. All of a sudden, a 3-ingredient drink became a 14-ingredient drink. So you would say, why not lime and grapefruit? Or what happens if you do lime and grapefruit and passion fruit? Why just use sugar? Why not use cinnamon-infused sugar syrup? Why not use vanilla syrup? He really was like a rum scientist. So this is what he called his rum rhapsodies. And in no time at all, this bar that he opened after Prohibition became the talk of Hollywood.